Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, let's just dive in and let's start off with this article here from the World Economic Forum. Now, this is from March of this year, 5 months ago. Would you see, as digital currencies become more popular, could we be seeing the end of cash? Now, this was very interesting. We know that this is their overall plan. We know that they've wanted a cashless society since going all the way back to the pandemic and even before the pandemic. What's interesting is that they mention a few things in terms of the talking points, which is Sweden, Brazil, and China are among a handful of countries seeing an increasingly cashless society with the digitalization of money. Analysis suggests that a general correlation between high interest rates and less cash in circulation. Which just means, with higher interest rates, this is, lower supply of money in the economy, since most people don't want to, go out and leverage debt at this time because they don't want the high interest rates on their debt. Sometimes people still go out and get the brand new car. Some people still go out and get their mortgage with the 7.5% interest rate on it. But for the most part, it's more expensive for individuals to hold debt, so they don't go out and leverage debt, which means less money in circulation. But we also do see CBDCs. Central bank digital currency is inevitable. This is from the World Economic Forum. With 90%, it's actually 93% now, of central banks developing one, and the percentage of countries developing or piloting a CBDC having doubled in 1 year. Now, there's a few interesting things within this that they also do mention, which is the pandemic. So the first one is the pandemic accelerated the trend towards Sweden's digitalization of money. We know that the pandemic was a perfect excuse for them to say cash is dirty. It's bad. Don't use cash. It has germs on it. This, that, whatever. And they pushed it. They pushed it heavily. And even within this, they mentioned it a few times around the pandemic. In fact, they even do mention how cash is king when there is a crisis. They even talk about that with the financial shock or even pandemic. And then they also do mention it down here as well. Moreover, a half of those living in developed countries believe that cash will always be around, a consistent viewpoint before and after the COVID-19 pandemic, indicating cash for now will be around for some time. And yeah, I think that we still have a little bit of time on this. But the question is, will we be heading towards a cashless society at some point in time here soon? And in my opinion, yeah, I do think that we will. But guess what? They need to accelerate it even more. So how can they do that? Well, it's very interesting, right? Because now we have things happening. We have BRICS, de-dollarization, all of this, major headline article news events happening. But guess what also is happening? COVID variants. New COVID variant leads to scientists demanding rules from lockdown reimposed on Britain. That's right. They're pushing more lockdowns. And also, even CBS News, new COVID variants, they mention them here, are spreading. Here's what to know. And all of this is happening at the same exact time that CBDCs are being integrated. You see over here from Torre Corton, we're on Twitter. Funny how new variants begin emerging as we're on the cusp of CBDC integration within society. It will all be introduced for your own good and well-being, of course. And yeah, this was the case of the pandemic of 2020, where it was, hey, we're accelerating things in a digital way because money's dirty. You don't want to be touching money. You don't want to be transacting in money. Individuals utilizing physical money right now has dropped drastically. That's what they said. So we need to push on a digital currency. It's kind of comical, right? So this is the perfect narrative for them to play into, especially in terms of bringing in a CBDC, rolling it out. All along the way with, of course, what BRICS are doing, which BRICS are moving towards a digital currency as well. They will utilize that as an example. But also, this has been their plan forever. Here's from the International Monetary Fund, going cashless. This was from June of 2018. They seen it even there. They talked about Sweden. They did mention Sweden yet again because they were one of the first major ones. And what's interesting is that like this has been a long-term plan, and I think that what they did was they seen Sweden and what Sweden was doing, and I think that they were like, all right, well, we could utilize this as an example, but how can we push forward on this? Well, first off, they talked about cryptocurrencies within this. They also talked about how they are high risk investments and they're not actual currencies. Kind of comical, right? But we do see it is worth mentioning that digitalization, technical improvements, and globalization are positive developments that increase our collective economic welfare. And again, as we look at that, we know that they really kind of targeted that fully, especially around the 2020 timeframe. Because even going forward on in time, now we also have the World Economic Forum just recently in June, talking about central bank digital currency, global interoperability principles, talking about how much, how many central banks are already actively engaged in CBDC research and development. But also, this is all from their plan of a cashless society. This is from January 7th, 2020. This was literally a month before the big headline articles of the pandemic. Now, they already had the plans. The fourth industrial revolution breakdown got posted by the World Economic Forum in 2016. This was 4 years later. And what we seen was them utilizing the pandemic as an example to push for a CBDC system. We even see here, this is a radical shift, but it's just the beginning of the cash revolution. Very interesting, right? New global payments ecosystem, including both physical cash as well as mobile wallets, is a result of the convergence of three large and powerful industries: telecommunications, banking, and retail. And if the private and public sector can work together to harness the latest technology and realize the full potential of a cashless society, there will be enormous benefits. Very interesting. And they also did talk about, thus far, the shift is basically a move from physical cash to cash replacements. With private companies involved in processing those transactions, there is inevitably a cost, and that means there is a loss of value when the transfer occurs. Now, of course, this is, under the eliminating the middleman, close the financial inclusion gap. Even here, this is my vision for a true cashless society. There's an exchange of value in its entirety, just like cash, and it requires a national government rather than banks or the like to act as the payment provider, effectively becoming a state-backed utility. So what they are looking at here is eliminating banks and having governments being the ones in full control. The savings from avoiding the processing cost could then be used to benefit those in need, such as by being transferred to a fund to rejuvenate economically depressed areas, as one example. So that's pretty interesting. And then they also do talk about this. So you guys know that Ripple quoted this many times in the past as well, talking about the last mile in payments and money. Well, look at this, a cashless society. Along with the transformation of the last mile of money, transfers, payments, and banking services will help to close the financial inclusion gap. And we know that Ripple has been hyper-focused on closing that financial inclusion gap as well. But this is heavily focused more on a cashless society. Again, all of this has already been pre-planned. They already know what they are going to do. This is an elite organization. And even recently on Twitter, I talked about this. Do not comply is a quote. And this is Christine Anderson. So this video is from Christine Anderson, who is a member of the European Parliament for Germany. She reveals the truth about COVID-19 in this video. Remember what I have always said about COVID. It was utilized to streamline digitalization. She discusses total control within the video. Read the articles. These are the articles, COVID-19, how it has pushed companies over the technology tipping point and transformed business forever. Also over here from the IMF, how pandemic accelerated digital transformation in advanced economies. This was from March of this year as well. And again, like they're talking about how there's gaps that still persist within this major push. And then also, this is from KPMG, Digital Acceleration. For a majority of US CEOs, the pandemic has meant an acceleration in digital transformation by months or even years. Again, perfect narrative to push everything forward. And I said there is many others as well that pinpoint to the same conclusion. COVID-19 was an accelerant for the digital economy, and it's coming over 93% of central banks are already exploring CBDCs. The biggest issue is that her message is extremely strong, but 99% won't listen. They still think everything is a conspiracy theory around what's happening. I want our control/freedom to be protected as well. The big question is, what exactly are we protecting though? They can shut your accounts down now. They could block your transactions now. They can do whatever they want, physical or digital finance. It's all controlled no matter what. I've talked about this new system with the likes of crypto tokens, like, of course, many of these great tokens. I have outlined/broken down the new system coming and what's happening behind the scenes. And, you know, this is a great video. If you guys haven't watched it, go check it out over on Twitter. I'm not going to play in this video because we don't know what YouTube is going to do. I honestly have no idea what YouTube is going to do with this video because there is a lot of things really kind of getting to the edge, if you will, of what YouTube will allow. But as we look at what's happening, you know, especially around the world of CBDCs, we know that COVID, the pandemic, it was utilized to accelerate things heavily. And now with these new variants, at the same exact time that we are seeing real-time payment systems launching, we're seeing CBDC initiatives being, you know, taken. We're also, you know what, better yet, going back just recently, we've seen the BIS, the Central Bank of Central Banks, literally doing experiments with CBDCs for the retail sector through DLT and API plug-and-play technology. All of this at the same exact time. The narrative could not be more perfect. So do I think that we are about to get more lockdowns? Do I think that we are about to see a lot more, you know, hyper sensitive headlines and mainstream media attention and, you know, major distractions? 100%. And all of this is heavily focused on what's next, which is the major push towards a cashless society centered out on CBDCs, stablecoins, you name it. And for those that have not been paying attention, we've been talking about this heavily around even the collapse of the traditional system. They need to break the traditional system in order to usher in the new one. And we even see here from Esper Blesser. Honestly, I thought this was going to be the case last lockdown. Then it didn't happen. I guess we had to see the limitations of the old system first. Buckle up, buckaroos. And we do see, I did too, but they definitely will this time around. And, you know, as we really kind of look at what's happening with CBDCs, everything is falling into place around them. They're pretty much at this point 100% confirmed to be happening. The biggest thing is everyone is so focused on full-on control with CBDCs, and I just want you guys to realize that they already control us now. It's just going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot more privacy intensive, right? Like they're going to take away a lot of the privacy that we do have with use of fiat currency. They want to phase out physical cash. That's been their goal. For anyone that thinks that I'm crazy, I mean, like, go back and look at half of these articles that are getting posted by the World Economic Forum or the IMF or even the BIS. All of them pinpoint to the same exact thing, which is a cashless society. I mean, we've talked about the 15-minute cities. We've talked about digital ID. We've talked about full-on control, like over in China, for an example. There's a lot of concerning things, and I think that we need to be aware of this. I think that we should 100% be awake at this time because, like I said over here, like 99% won't listen to these videos, to the information that they're being told. In fact, most of them will just listen to what they're being told on mainstream media, which we all know is nonsense anyways. So as we really kind of look at things, could we be heading towards another March of 2020 timeframe? And could this be the introduction to the new financial system dominated by CBDCs, digitalization, tokenization, and many other things? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on. If you guys want more free content, you guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Peace out.